I grew up on the West Coast, got engaged, and went to the East Coast for my wife. We've been living in NYC for a while. She likes nature and camping. Since marrying my wife, I've stepped out of my shell and started to appreciate the outdoors. My wife loves Shelter Island. It's near Long Island and only accessible by ferry. My wife and I have had several bad animal encounters there. Only way I can describe it. First, while my wife and I started dating, in 2014. This was our second or third time hanging out, and we were on a path when we saw an unusual animal. We were a ways into the trek when a huge black wolf sprang out into the trail, looked at us, and jumped into the brush. Size-wise, I believed it was a dire wolf. I don't suppose wolves can live here, let alone on the preserve, but I'm not sure. It looked like a large black wolf, and I didn't detect anything out of place. It had a longer snout and bright eyes. It looked at us briefly to recognize our approach. My partner and I were shocked when it happened. We kept hiking. Her outdoor-loving relatives told me there are no wolves in New York. They felt it was amusing that we had a wolf-sized runner. Her uncle, an enthusiastic hunter, wanted to accompany us on treks in the Mashimak Preserve the next summer. We visited there a lot, so he came with us at least 5 times. We had a lot of fun seeing the sights and climbing to different heights. We all forgotten about last year's wolf encounter. This time, we hiked to a clearing with marshes, a marshy area, and the shore. My wife's uncle observed a gigantic moving black mass. We were hundreds of feet away, but we could see it was black and on all fours. Unsettling. My wife and her uncle know the local fauna. I know there are many animals, including white-tailed deer, but I can't identify this one. We watched it for a while before it moved toward us, which was unusual. It was plainly headed in our direction, and to the right of this opening was the shore. To the left of this thing was the forest. Suddenly, it stopped coming at us and dashed off into the trees to its left. We were all mystified. It was hundreds of feet distant when it got up and had complete movement. Due the distance, I could only see a black mass standing tall. Perhaps that was last year's wolf. We had to double-check where it went since it sped into the forest. Later, I discovered the Michigan Dogman, although he's far from New York. The preserve may have an undiscovered animal. Consider, my story took place in 1971 with my cousin. My cousin was a full-time mechanic who flipped automobiles. He visited me in rural Wisconsin regularly. Me and my cousin liked vehicles, so he'd drive to me and we'd go for joyrides in his Charger throughout the countryside. My cousin pulled over while we were out for a joyride. Now we're in the middle of nowhere, on a 2-lane road with no cars nearby, we're alone. My cousin unlocks his glove compartment to see a black leather purse. Doobies were everywhere. I recall him placing one in his mouth, then searching for matches and swearing. He instructed me to look beneath the passenger seat in case he dropped some. As I was reaching under the bench, I saw a big animal crouched in the grass to my right. From a distance, I assumed it was a black bear. I found some dropped matches beneath the seat and gave them to my cousin, who was thrilled. Out of curiosity, I looked back and saw a black bear rising up. As my cousin smoked, it grew taller. I told him it was a gigantic black bear and he replied it looked bizarre. From behind, it seemed canine, which my cousin and I found unusual. Before I could smoke the marijuana, my cousin took it away. This animal faces us full on. As I blow smoke, I see something approaching our car. When it turned around and started marching toward us, my cousin and I panicked because we thought it was a black bear. It resembled a black dog on its hind legs. It was shaggy, jet black, and had a dog head, not a bear's. Within seconds after noticing us, it latched on and sped up. With its leaps, it would be to our car in less than 20 seconds. My cousin swears, tosses out his joint, and speeds. We sped off, leaving tread imprints and smoke. We never looked in the rearview mirror, but we were both confused. We've never seen anything like that here or ever. We were 7 or 8 miles from my home on a deserted road, but I didn't realize such creatures existed here. I'm not sure what it was, but it was massive and we were scared it would attack the car or us. My cousins thought it was a black bear that got furious we encroached on its area, or maybe it had pups we couldn't see. I don't think it was a black bear, though, since they don't run on 2 legs. In 2000, I drove late from Indiana to Tucson, Arizona. I had a long way to travel home late at night. Desolate and lonely. Both directions are desert. I was driving home about midnight. There wasn't another automobile on the road, but I saw lights. This automobile was speeding, and I mean hauling ass. Many people speed around here. Again, I wasn't too concerned. This automobile was traveling so fast it was losing control and swerving to keep straight. First thought, intoxicated driver. As the car came, I slowed and moved to the right. I don't know what it was after the automobile raced by me. Skinwalker, werewolf, monster, unknown creature, whatever. Large brown-gray wolf was chasing a car that just flew by me. This beast hauled ass. I've never seen an animal travel so rapidly, I guessed at least 60 miles per hour. I almost stopped because I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. The car and animal passed me so quickly. Details were few. I observed wolf face and brown-gray because it was thick and its front arms were longer than its torso. I wondered whether it escaped from a lab. Strangely, I didn't observe eye shine. Then, I shifted into high gear and sped down 191 the rest of the way home. Arizona-based. I've had several native pals, some Navajo. When I tell them, they say it was a skinwalker. Unsure? This appeared like a roided-up wolf on all fours chasing a car to me. Unknown. I enjoy woods hiking. Since always? I used to explore alone and find fascinating things. Best ever. As a youngster, I discovered so much. Bones? In Oklahoma, I once found an arrowhead. Cool, huh? As an adolescent, I found several human-looking elk bones. Nothing will ever beat the day I found the Michigan Dogman's cave. It was scary and thrilling. 2010 winter. I worked with a friend whose dad helped me acquire the job in Danbury, Wisconsin. Wisconsin, and adjacent states provide beautiful sights to trek and explore. People think the Northwest is lovely, but they should visit Danbury. Winter's splendor should be cherished. Some people think I'm crazy, but I adore exploring the woods on my days off. Today was no different. Today's wildness isn't far away. I went by car. Megan Nicole, a national hiking force. I had snacks, food, a flashlight, emergency kit, my backpack, spare sweater, etc. November is cold here. I wasn't deterred. No snow where I was, so it was ideal. I hiked far. After 4 hours, I found a clearing. This region featured a ravine with a cave entrance at the bottom. A human couldn't squeeze through. This gully was slippery, rough, and steep. I slid down much of it on my bum. I did it for exploration and adventure. I slid down sharp rocks and dead bush to the cave entrance in a few minutes. I was bruised, but okay. Now I see the entry hole is larger. OMG. I found a bear den. Describe the greatest delight. I grabbed my flashlight to investigate. Although I enjoy trekking, I'm no wildlife expert. Bears hibernate, so I may encounter one napping. I'm insane and took the chance. I've been spelunking, sometimes called caving, and it's one of the most enjoyable things you can do. So people don't think I'm retarded. My high-quality flashlight with new batteries was brilliant. The slope I just down on my bum continued towards the cave mouth, and appeared to open up. She sank maybe 20 feet further in. I shined in and slipped down. As it was muddy, I reached the bottom quickly. I nearly gagged as I entered the cave and smelled damp dog. I couldn't hold my nose. I shined my light about and saw a large, long cavern. I didn't expect a bear's cave would smell like a dog, so I was scared. As I unplugged my nose and got acclimated to the scent, I noticed a fainter stench above the dog blood. I realized I was in a predator's den and should flee. I was curious where this chamber went. So I climbed some boulders to see the following chamber's tunnel opening. I ascended the rocks at the entrance I just used. Bones abounded. I've never seen so many bones together. In response? No human skulls, but lots of deer and animal bones. No way. As I flashed my light on the bones, I must have gasped loudly since I heard rustling from a nearby chamber. I panicked, thinking I roused a hibernating bear and was in danger. I heard a rustling sound approaching my chamber. I whirled around, rushed down the entrance, and went up the slope like someone had a fire under my ass. I was dirty, muddy, and bruised and thought I'd entered a lair. My automobile was 4 hours away. My trek back to my car was long and nerve-wracking. I hoped I didn't wake up a wild beast that would come get me. It wasn't a bear, I'm sure. Why do bear dens smell like wet dogs? I'm speechless. I'm sure it's a Dogman. It's disturbing since the cave I found is miles and miles into the forest. Even though it was autumn and muddy, I didn't observe any bear or dog footprints between the hill and the cave entrance. My brother has always been an active hunter, so I won't be as dangerous next time. Nope. My brother grew up differently than me. After I was born, my dad and mom broke up, and I moved in with my dad in the city while my brother stayed with my mom in the country. After their divorce, I didn't see my elder brother for years. Poor. My mum lived in the country and remarried a tracker. My older brother was young and learnt quickly. He's in his 30s and a wonderful bow hunter. He's been hunting for most of his life, and has encountered every circumstance imaginable, or so we thought. I try to go camping with him more and more since he's a mine of information to be around, especially in the woods. He recently told me about a monster he can't explain. My brother is an atheist who believes in nothing. If it's not in his face, it doesn't exist, you know. My brother doesn't lie. He has too much of a reputation among his tracking and hunting pals to lie. Anyway, he told me he was bow hunting white-tailed deer in October and came across a huge old buck 20 yards away, which is excellent. He sneaked up on it and it didn't hear him. He had the upper hand, but the deer didn't notice. As soon as my brother drew his bow, the deer turned left. My brother had trouble conveying the narrative here. He's pale and shaky while recalling details. This disturbs me since he's clearly scared by what happened. He tells me that in the woods, roughly 40 to 50 yards to his 10 o'clock, a gigantic black blur rushes upon a deer and starts shredding it to bits. It appeared like an enormously large canine that was more ripped than a bodybuilder, ripping the buck to shreds and gore. He sat there behind a tree just watching for a few moments as this animal was reduced to a pile of guts as the creature feasted. Its back was to my brother. My brother was so scared at this point, he knew it was time to bail and get out of there as fast as possible, but before he could, the thing that was eating this pile of what was ever left, immediately stuck its head up in the air and began sniffing before quickly turning around to face my brother. My brother says he peed his pants when he saw the massive werewolf standing 20 yards away, covered in buck gore and blood. Mutilated? This monster is glaring at him and growling menacingly. He claimed what struck him most about the creature was how clever its eyes were. It wasn't simply a wild animal, the eyes were terrible and glowing amber, and the beast appeared malevolent, like it was out of a movie. My brother retreated as this monster continued staring at him. He backed out of view and ran to his pickup. He advised me that turning and running attracts predators to chase you. They're predatory. He's grateful his hunting sense didn't fail him, otherwise he'd be dead. He says it was too nasty and sophisticated to be a werewolf, or an animal. He says if devils existed, that was one in the flesh. He still hunts and does whatever he does, but he has a sleeping issue and PTSD from the encounter. If you appreciate my stuff, subscribe for more scary Dogman experiences and other cryptids. Like and comment. Next video, I guess.